What's up, Disrupt Nation? My name is Anthony Delgado, and this is another episode of the Disrupt Podcast. And today we have my special friend, Bobby Stocks. Bobby Stocks is a business strategist, an entrepreneur, and he recently moved to Puerto Rico. So thank you for being on the show, my friend.
Hey, what's going on? Yeah, excited to be here. And love living in Puerto Rico, though the mofongos got me.
Awesome, that's awesome.
That and the Puerto Rican coffee. Man, it's so strong, I've had to dial it back.
Yeah, no, my friend, last night he just moved down here a few weeks ago, and he had like a really small cup of coffee because it was so strong, he was like bouncing off the walls.
Yeah, I started getting indigestion after a couple months because usually I'm like a pot a day guy.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, within a couple months I was like, whoa, yeah, I gotta calm down with
Yeah,
this.
you gotta balance. So yeah, before we get into like what you're doing now and why you moved to Puerto Rico, let's talk about like how you got started. Like, when was your introduction to entrepreneurship?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm definitely like the type of guy that was like born with that entrepreneurial fire or drive. And when I think back, like the very first time I did something entrepreneurial, and I can see that same attitude is stuck with me, and I've been able to cultivate it. Was the very first time I had a iced tea stand. So, I used to set up an iced tea stand at the end of my block, and we would try to stop cars and sell them, cups of iced tea for 50 cents a pop, right? And I don't know how old I was at this point, maybe first or second grade, but even at that point in my life, I was really creative around the marketing of it, the business tactics of it, and also the scaling of it. So I actually started scaling my iced tea stands to, once we would get it operating, little stop signs, and we'd jump in front of the cars so that they had to stop so that they could hear our sales pitch. And once that got going, I would train the kids that were younger than me to run the stand. So they would get their cut, I would get my cut, and then I'd go home and I'd watch wrestling or do whatever I was doing from the safety of my home while I had these kids jumping in front of the cars. Now, I started to get in trouble with that because their parents didn't like the fact that I was sitting at home and, so I was already like disrupting the neighborhood with trying to scale those businesses. But really, I really didn't get into, like being completely out on my own until I was 30 years old. So, I had kind of a rough upbringing in Philadelphia. Started selling drugs at a very young age, went down that path. And, my entrepreneurial mindset kind of, had me go selling some non-approved substances and, had a rough upbringing of that. And I ended up getting sober, coming up on 11 years now, and really starting to turn my life around. But a majority of my life, I worked in the restaurant business. I ran restaurants. I was head chef of country clubs and stuff like that. So I really learned a lot about team development, high pressure situations in that. And I've really been able to bring that into the entrepreneurship world and owning different businesses.
Got it. And what type of life event, like what happened at 30? Did you just wake up and you're like, I'm 30, I'm not where I want to be? Or like, what happened at 30?
Yeah, so, if I got sober at 25 and kind of like felt like I woke up in like a different life, because I had started, going down that route of selling drugs and, being an addict myself, in fifth grade is when it all started for me. So, I ended up getting sober at 25. At this time, I'm working in the restaurant business. I'm a convicted felon. I'm on parole. I got all this baggage, right? And there was like a moment, like I just had like a white light experience where I was like, what the hell am I doing with my life? And that's like really when the desire to like be free, right? I mean, when I think about like what is the drive around my entrepreneurship, there's two parts. It's to be free. And for me, really, it's to create freedom for those who, I'll say with asterisks, work for me, right? I have a very big team. We're like 20 plus. And we have a culture of like, how can we be free? How can we partner? How can we be collaborative? Because I really felt trapped, so I woke up in the restaurant business. I was like, oh, I hate this. And my brain started to like figure out how can I make more money and feel a sense of freedom, right? And I went down like the typical, what I call the drift, okay, let me see if I can go back to school. I don't have a college degree. And I started going down those checklists that like everybody thinks like, all right, I'm going to go back to school. It's going to take 4 years. Then I'm going to need to get a master's degree, and I'm already like, I'm 25 years old. So I struggled with that for a couple of years. And then I started to go to school. And I remember really like what happened was I was sitting there and I was studying. And for the first time I was getting good grades. And I realized that, I think I thought I was stupid, but really I just never paid attention in school, right? I'm selling drugs. I'm high. Like I didn't care. And something hit me where I was just like, it's going to take me like 6 to 8 years to get out and then like start working to make $100K. And I'm going to be like $250,000 in debt. And I'm going to spend all this time to do this. And something was just like, there's got to be a better way than this. So that's like really like the spark that started. I had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't know how I was going to do it because, I'm a convicted felon with an aggravated assault. So it's like, this doesn't look very well in like today's standard job market. And at the age of right before I turned 30, it was January 1st of 2012, I quit my job. I had no idea what I was going to do. I had a mortgage. I was making good money as a head chef. And I had some like ideas. Like I was like, I'm going to go in and try to be a financial advisor because I was trading penny stocks at the time. That was like my Band-Aid of like, how can I get that taste of possibility and possible income? And yeah, I quit my job and found myself in like startup phase, totally dead broke. And like, yeah, this is hard. And that's really where my journey begun. But it came from like, I want freedom, and I had everybody, like my mom, my dad, my friends, like there was like almost nobody but my wife that supported the idea of me leaving the restaurant business because I had started working it when I was 14. I went to culinary school. I was a head chef by 21. I was making like a comfy $60K a year. And like my whole world was that like, I'm a really good chef. Everybody knows that about me. And it was really, I really had to, disrupt or break down or completely throw out the window my identity with no other skills. And I really had to search to see like, okay, I have skills besides cooking because I ran all these functions and I managed all these people. Even with the craziness, I'd be like snorting coke in the bathroom and then coming out and, trying to, and it was just nuts. So yeah, I had no idea what I was going to do. And like 5K saved up to try to do it. And my wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, like, what have I gotten into? She supported me because she saw how miserable I was. And she believed like nobody should be miserable like that. Like, so, and I think a lot of people get stuck in that. Like they're like, they're not even content. They put on a front like they're content, right? But they're just dying inside.
Well, and they say like behind every good man is a strong woman, right? So she's there to kind of have your back. She knew that you weren't happy, right? And at the end of the day, even if you were making some money, not being happy is not going to leave you in a good place, right?
Yeah.
But you learned a lot of things along the way, right? So you weren't only just cooking, you were also helping to run the business and running your own finances. And I love how you kind of own your failures. Like even on like the front page of your website, it's like college dropout, former drug dealer, convicted felon. It's like, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just completely own it, And I guess if you're looking for a reason not to start, like there's always a reason, right? Like, what about that beard? That beard is, who's going to trust somebody with a beard like that? And what about
I had every reason to think that I was going to fail. I mean, if you looked at the record, right? And I tried to apply at a bunch of places. I couldn't even. I was like, and trust me, I was like, oh, I messed up, right? I remember like, all right, let me get a part-time job working at a hospital in the kitchen, right? I'm like, we managed a high-end. I mean, I did the wedding for the daughter of the Mars bars. I personally cooked meals, crab cakes every week. The lady that owns J.C. Penney's, Mrs. Penny's, would come and pick up 20 jumbo lump crab cakes for her dog every week from her club. So I had this like great resume, and I couldn't even get a job working at a hospital serving dishes. And that's when I was like, oh shit. Because like on paper, it says aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, right? Like there's like, everybody's like, nope, he's not working here. So, I had some, it's like in the moment, I was looking at it like maybe I made a mistake. Now looking back on it, it's like, man, like thank God that
how easy would it have been to be in the hospital, in this kitchen.
Right. Thank God I put myself in a position where I had no choice but to grow. I had no choice. And that's why like I own my failures, because the reality is all the worst situations in my life, like that have happened when I was in them, I'm like, this is horrible. I can't believe this has happened. All of those have given me access to what I have now, which is night and day. Night and day. I mean, if I went back to 2012 or 2008 when I got sober and could look at my life now, 36, pulling in. I mean, this year we'll probably do somewhere between $5 to $8 million with 25 plus employees, traveling all across the world, living in Puerto. Like I would. There's no way in a million years that I could think that could happen. And all of that came from the struggle, the ego deflation, and these extremely difficult situations where I had no other choice but to keep pushing forward. And I had the support of really, really good people. Between my wife, you only need a couple people who are just committed to like what your dream could be, or even beyond what your dream could be, right? Because we always sell ourselves short on what we think we're capable of. I think everybody sells themselves short. I sell myself short. As we sit here today, I'm probably selling myself short of what I'm actually capable of.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the thing. That's why it's important to have people around you. Like you had your wife, and now you have a strong team, people around you that help, lift you up and help see the potential in these situations, right?
Yeah. So, I have like, I could tell you there's two core mentors that when I was dead broke trying to make it in this business, that I couldn't even pay them. And I remember Brian, he was a consulted for like billionaires in Saudi Arabia, and he was a coach. And I somehow found him online, and we had a call, and he was 30,000, and I was like, man, I got nothing. Like I can't even put gas in my tank, bro. And he was like, I'll help you. I'm not going to give you the level of support that I would for somebody who paid me $30,000 because that would be out of integrity for me, but I'm going to help you. And he said, what's going to happen is someday I'll make that $30,000 and it'll be because I helped you, but it will come from somebody else. And I was like, all right. And this guy used to just pound in my head, there's no reason why you can't make $30,000 this month. And I just couldn't wrap my brain around how that was possible. Like I couldn't wrap and he would always say it's easy. It's easy. And man, like he helped me for like 2 years and I was like not making any money. And as much like Tony Robbins stuff and all that woo-woo stuff, like I'm like a woo-woo guy now, but I definitely lived majority of my life not like that. But I've taken, and that's what I would say, like if somebody's starting out and they're young, like get around people that are really like nonchalant about just like the amount of results they're getting, meaning like they're just talking, now that I live in Puerto Rico, I'll hang out with some guys from the Ritz. Like, I was sitting there watching football with a guy who's like, yeah, we just hired our 1,300th employee. This guy's got 1,300 employees, right? Like if you just do the math on salaries, that's like something like maybe 50 million a year in salaries or something like that. And, we're just sitting on the beach and he's eating popcorn and he's got a TV set up for NFL Sunday. And I'm just like, oh my God. Right. But when you put yourself around people that are up leveled more than you, you start to realize there's nothing different between this guy and me. He's a little bit farther ahead and he believes that things are possible, right? And that's what started to help me believe that I could put the hustle in, put the grind in, learn some stuff, get around the right people, right? But it created a possibility for me. And that's the number one thing, man. If I could like, if I go back and talk to myself, that would be it.
Yeah, because you don't think it's possible, right? Like $1,000 a day, $30,000 a month. That was like out of this world. But then you start hanging out with people where that's nothing. That's a bad day. Like if they woke up with that, they
right.
jump out of a window, right?
Yeah, and like now today, it's like if I made $30,000 in a month, it would be like a really fucking bad month. And like really, really, like we'd be like, oh, like something's going wrong here. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's completely insane. And the path there, I really think it's like if you simplify everything, it is about who you put yourself around, because those people are going to give you the clues of what industries you should look into. How do you think about leveraging yourself? How do you multiply yourself? Those types of people are going to tell you how do you build teams. And as these problems come up, they're the ones that are going to be like, this is how we did it. Here's, check out this program. You're having mindset issues, read this book. And they're just going to give you those little crumbs as you go.
Yeah, they say success leaves clues, right?
Right.
Well, the other interesting thing that I've found as I've been altering my circle with more successful people is that they actually want to help you. Like you don't even have to ask for help. They're like, oh yeah, this is easy. Here's this contract. Here, take this template. Oh, hang on. Matter of fact, let me call somebody for you. And I think that that's actually one of the big differences between successful and not successful people. You get in that like survival kind of mindset where it's like dog eat dog, and it's like crabs in a barrel, right? They keep holding each other down and nobody can get to the top. Whereas these uber successful people, people want to do business with them. People want to work for them because they know if I work for Anthony or if I work for Bobby, I'm going to be good. Bobby's actually going to take care of me,
Yep.
as opposed to the crab in the barrel kind of mentality. So
yeah, if you want to build up like the strongest referral partnerships ever, go help somebody else, get what they want. I started doing that before I started making money online. I mean, what really happened is 2012, I get out, I fail, I don't know what to do. And how I got into marketing, which is my industry is marketing, is I bought a pit bull because I was lonely. I had to build a fence for the pit bull. I built a fence for the pit bull. And a buddy of mine was like, let me guess, you're going to start a fencing company? And that's what I did. I put an ad up on Craigslist, totally forgot that I put the ad up. 2 weeks later, I get an email. Somebody wants an estimate. I show up to the estimate. I tell the guy, look, I have no idea what I'm doing. I don't have a job, and I show him a picture. I said, I built a fence last week for myself. And the guy said, look, I'll give you $150 a day. And he's like, I'm a contractor, but I have a severed, he had like a severed tendon. And he's like, I'll give you some tips along the way. I'll pay you $150 a day. Call it even. I was honest with the guy. He did it. He showed me everything I needed to know. And that was spring of 2012. And from there, I built a fencing company. So in the winter 2015 is December was the last time in 2015 that I did a fence. So from 2012 to 2015, I taught myself Facebook ads, landing pages, you name it. And I built that fencing company up to the point where we had 2 different box trucks. We had a warehouse. I had 2 different teams. I had sales guys. And I just sat in my living room and did the marketing. And that's when I was like, I love marketing. Like, if I could just do marketing all day, I would be like happier than a pig in shit. And 2016, I was like, I'm going all in on agency stuff. And then I went completely broke again. I had like my first month, I did like 10K and I was like, yeah, it's going to be easy. Didn't make another dollar for like 5 months. And I remember it was like June of 2016, I made like $600. And my wife was basically like, look, I love you. And you need some tough love here. And she was like paying for the rent, everything. And I'm just sitting there like, and I totally drained all my funds. And I remember she said, July, here's half of everything that you owe me. Like, she's like, you need to hand over $1,200 in July. Otherwise I'm sleeping on the couch. And she's like, and I'm going to sleep on the couch for a week. And if you don't give me that money by the end of the week, I'm moving to my parents' house. And she was like, I love you. This is nothing but like, you either need to make this work or you need to go back to the restaurant. Mm-hmm. And July, I made $1,300. I gave her the $1,200. I had $100 for myself. The next month, I doubled it. August, I doubled it. And then that's where I really started picking up steam. And January 2017, I made $30,000, and we never looked back since. And now we're rattling off, $500,000 months. And it just was like, whew.
So what was the shift in the business? In the beginning, it sounds like you're focused on marketing and things of that nature. What did you change?
So really the big shift, I would say, especially like once we started getting into big numbers, like myself, once I started breaking my day down, right? It was, what do I need to do today to make $100? Who do I need to talk to, right? What do I got to do? Is there something I can sell? Is there something I can cross sell, right? It doesn't really matter the niche or whatever you're doing. It's what can I do? What activities can I do today that are going to generate revenue, right? If you're in the beginning of your phase, it's all about revenue. Forget about taking all these courses and learning all this stuff. Like, it's got to, like, you can make a ton of money selling very simple things, right? people overcomplicate it. That's what I used to do. I'm an overcomplicator. So once I got rid of the complexity and I said, what do I have that I can sell? What activities do I need to do today to make $100, right? And I just broke it down like that. And then I started to increase it. You know, I started to, what can I do today to make $200? What can I do today to make $300? And then to get into big scale, it's about your zones of geniuses, right? So I got to the point within that 6 months leading up to January 2017 where I could make I'd have a 3K month, then I have a 6K month, then I have a 10K month, then I'd be back down to a 3K month, right? Because I was doing everything. I was trying to do the sales. I was trying to do the delivery. Like I was trying to do it all. And that's the up and down I see with all types of business owners, right? They're doing it all. So what happened for me was I started reading a book, The Big Leap, and I was familiar with a lot of like, do one thing that you're good at, right? Your zone of genius. So my zone of genius is marketing, specifically strategy. I'm a business strategist. I fix problems. That's what made me so good in the restaurant business is that I can come up with solutions to almost any problem. I'm able to see it. And with marketing, you know, beating out your competition, it's a big puzzle. It's a challenge. It's a problem that you have to figure out. I love it. So once I realized that, the first thing I realized was, okay, I'm great at marketing. I'm not good at sales. I hired a sales guy, right? So as soon as I hired a sales guy, I actually got better at marketing because I knew I didn't have to take the sales calls anymore. Because whenever I would get on the sales calls, I was so afraid. I'd have to change my underwear 5 times during the day because I'm sweating and pacing and walking back and forth because I'm like, I hate this because they're going to say no and I'm going to feel bad. And I'm going to have to get on another call and do it all over again. You know, it was like getting in the ring with Mike Tyson every day, like, and having no choice.
You didn't want to do marketing because then that would be more sales calls.
Exactly, right? So I was just recreating the problem for myself. Because I would do really good at marketing, get a ton of calls, and then fail on every single one of them. And I was like, this is a bad investment. So as soon as I got a sales guy, that's when, January 2007, I got a sales guy, and I got myself more in my zone of genius, and that month we did 30,000 in sales. And I was like, phew. Like everything that my first mentor, Brian, that I first started talking to in 2015, like I realized I was like, wow, that was like really easy to make that 30,000. And I just started going all in on that principle. How can I be more in my zone of genius, right? So the next month, February, I'm dealing with all these clients. I'm still running all the ads. And I'm like, I hate dealing with these clients. Like, I don't like getting on the phone with them and explaining things. And it's like, it really drains me. So I got an account manager, right? She's still with me. She's in the other room. And I got an account manager, right? And she started handling that stuff, right? And then I got a CTO. Somebody started handling the systems, the delivery, because it was like I could do all that technical stuff, but I hated it. I'm actually not a very technical guy. I can figure it out, right? So then I met my CTO. He's in the other room. He's from Puerto Rico. And he's still with me, right? We've all grown together. You know, everybody's got a piece of the pie. And that's what I just started doing with the organization. And I kept finding people who had a zone of genius because I could spot it now. Because I spotted it in myself, I could spot it in them. And I helped keep them in their zone, right? And we just keep adding people to it. Just keep, going deeper and deeper so that we were all in our zone of genius. So right now, like my job is high level strategy and really like getting out there, like the marketing, that's what I do. I speak on these things. I'm traveling all across the country right now, doing a documentary on all of our clients, because we've changed a lot of our clients' lives. We have a lot of clients that have gone from, below 5 figures to 7-figure businesses now. So the more I get my zone of genius and everybody else stays in theirs, the more money we make and the faster we grow. I mean, our growth trajectory has been like insane, but it's all because everybody stays committed to what they're great at. And what happens is when you stay to what you're really naturally good at, you enjoy what you're doing. And that's what I see with so many business owners. They're doing so much stuff that they start to dislike the niche they're in, the business they're in, and they start going, I need to get in a different industry. And the reality is it's not the industry. It's that they're doing a bunch of stuff that makes them miserable. And that stagnates. Just like me trying to do sales and do the marketing, it stagnated my growth. It kept me in this pattern of, ups and downs and never really getting forward.
So basically empowering other people, identifying the genius in them, right? Seeing their strengths and identifying them, and then focusing on what you're good at, right?
Yep. And then everybody makes money. And everybody enjoys what they're doing, and everything becomes, business becomes fun. Yeah. It's like
how do you structure the company? Like, you guys do a revenue share? Like you said, like everyone has a piece. How does that work?
Yeah. So right now we have, I think we have 5 different companies. They all kind of work in unison, right? So like as we've had more market problems, because problems are money. Once I sat with $100 million guy talking about his campaigns, and he said, I love problems. I remember I was like, he went into this and this is a lot of like early business people, like they run into problems and they're like, I'm doing something wrong. This business isn't working. Problems are money, right? Every time we see a problem, we're like, how do we fix this? Because as soon as we fix this, not only does it help us in that situation, but it creates revenue streams, right? So we have a consulting side of the business. I have a partner who, I brought up with that. He does all the consulting, and with him, he gets 50% of that. I market it, right? We have a software company. The software company is split 2 ways between my CTO, and then we have a brilliant developer from the Dominican Republic, and we're bringing him up and out, right? Guy's like young kid, so smart. So he's a partner, he's an equity partner, right? And that's like how I like to structure things, because like I'm all about how do I get a smaller slice of a bigger pie? Everybody's trying to get the biggest slice of a little pie. But if you look at big companies, like you look at the biggest companies, that's how they're structured, right? Because if you really want a machine that's high power, you need high power people. And high power people deserve a piece, right? If you want them all in. Like I can tell you my team, like we're all like, we're on vacation now in Tahoe, and like the C-level teams here. And, we're all like, I don't want to say addicted to what we do because we love it, and we're all getting a piece of it, right? We all have upsides. So, yeah, all my stuff structured, we have like a done-for-you agency, a boutique agency, a white label agency, and, it's a lot of the C team, and we all kind of do that. And then our lower level people, we give them, percentage profit shares on performance and stuff like that.
Very cool. And now it sounds like a lot of different moving parts. Are these under all the same brand, or do you have different brands?
Different brands, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you do niche down like to industry, and like how do you communicate that to your customers so that they don't get confused? Yeah,
so we have like where it all started was the mortgage industry for me, which I hated, but I was really good at generating leads in it. And that's a whole division. I'm still kind of involved around like the future of that company, but that's completely run. That's completely run on its own. So there's we have the head of that is from California, and she was she was my second hire that actually reached out to me from a Facebook ad, and basically was like starting out and was like, I'll work for free. So now she runs that whole division, and That whole company is run by women. So that whole company is run by women. I have a lot of women in my corporation. I love them. They're hard workers. They're like so on point. I'm very like scattered. They're like detailed oriented, like just beasts. So so we niche out our companies. We have them separate branded. We do separate accounting and all that stuff. Yeah. So that's how we, make sure that our message is really clear in the market, and it enables us to create different assets.
Very cool. And then you focus on lead generation for these different industries?
Yeah. So those are lead generation. We have another company that's high ticket, which is where I've been housed for the last year. So I've personally ran a lot of Sam Ovens, like 7-figure earners, traffic funnels. So we have a whole team, in-house copywriter, product launch manager, multi-channel head of traffic. And in that particular business, we partner with other course providers. So like right now we have like 9 different courses out on the market. We even compete with ourselves, and people don't know that I'm actually like 50% owner of different ones. So yeah, I get pretty brutal in the market. Like I will compete against myself on purpose because I know that people buy different brands, right? I used to do that with my fencing company. I would have a high-end fencing company, a low-end fencing company, and I would bid the same jobs so that I increased the chance of me winning one of them.
Well, yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes if you come in too low, certain clients will get scared and they won't buy.
Yep.
People think, I have to come in low, I have to come in low. Depends on who the customer is. If it's a really small business, maybe, but for the most part, medium-sized and large businesses, they're scared with the low bid.
Yep. Yeah, and then we have a white label where we basically advertise for advertisers. And we have a whole, division with that. And we have a boutique where we generate leads for PI and roofing and all different types of stuff. And then we have a software company it's actually called SaaS Corp. And we have, and that's, we're developing like Facebook ad dashboards. We have a multi-channel follow-up system. And we built that really fast. That's a 6-figure company in 3 months flat. And that, sends out voicemails, texts, email. That's called Contact Smarter. And so, yeah, all the companies work in unison. So we basically just flow business around. Like that's how I try to generate it, so that some of my partners who may not be in directly involved with this part of the business, they know that this part of the business is actually generating revenue for their part.
They complement each other.
Right. It's all like I always structure it so that they're complementing each other. And that way the money just keeps flowing inside the family.
Very cool. Very cool. And so how long has it been since your wife threatened to sleep on the couch?
It's been a little over 2 years. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, she worked in pharmacy, and she was a C-level in a pharmaceutical firm, but now she quit her job. Now she's the COO of the company. She runs all the companies. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. And then when did you decide to move to Puerto Rico? Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So on my vision board, I actually still have a picture of it, and it says like "Get first client." I've always, from a young age, my parents used to have a timeshare in Bermuda, and my dad wanted to always move to Bermuda and stuff like that. So from a very young age, I spent a lot of time in the Caribbean and all over the place. I just love the Caribbean, and I've always been on my dream board. Like, I'm gonna move to the Caribbean. We had talked about Roatan, Honduras, and stuff like that. And 2 years ago, I was consulting for a guy in Miami on his marketing agency and showing him better ways to get conversions with his ads. And we got in a conversation about that, and he brought up Puerto Rico. And he was like, yeah, they have like a tax thing. And so once we heard about that, we were like, all right, we've been wanting to move to the Caribbean. Obviously, the easiest move would be Puerto Rico because it's a U.S. territory. We have our dog, and I love this dog because, my pit bull, I'm always like, that pit bull, like, saved me. Like, I started the fencing company and everything got rolling. So, yeah, we were like, this makes sense. We'll save on taxes. We're making a ton of money anyway. We'll live on the beach and we can bring the dog. So, and my CTO is from Puerto Rico. A lot of our team is from Puerto Rico. Not all of them are living in Puerto Rico. A lot of them are in New York, and all, but we have a huge. I'm like, Irish Catholic, and then like half our team is either Puerto Rican or Latin. So, and I'm like, my wife speaks Spanish now, and I'm just like, buenas. Like, I'm still struggling. I gotta learn.
Super cool. And what's one thing that surprised you about moving down here?
It's definitely slower. Like I know it's like always slower, but it's definitely slower. Like there's pluses and minuses. Like I like the freedom. Like from coming from Philly, people drive like crazy in Philly, but Puerto Rico is a whole nother level, and I like driving crazy. So I'm like, I can dig this. Like in Puerto Rico, if I see somebody that like gets pulled over, I'm like, damn, like they really did some real shit.
Yeah, must have
yeah, they did some real shit to get pulled over. So I like that. I like that, like heart-centered. Everybody's so like friendly, and the part like Christmas is like 2 months long, like, and everybody's like just all about dancing, and yeah, I really dig that. It's been an adjustment for the, it's given me a lot of appreciation of like service in the States. Like everything's just there's so many systems, but at the same time, it's been really good for us to learn how to kind of let go and relax and go with the flow, because we're, Northeast, we're high strung.
Yeah, well, that's they call it like island time, right? Like everyone's.
Yep, island time exists. It is real.
Yeah, take it easy, and like you said, in the Northeast, Philly, New York, New Jersey, everybody's like, let's get it. So I feel like I moved down here recently too, and it's like, not that it's gonna slow me down, but at least I'm a little like I'm one gear slower than I would be in New York. Like New York, I'm like on the brink of a nervous breakdown.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, I'm like still moving fast, but kind of put it in third gear.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and you really don't have an option.
Yeah, because everyone else. So my friend, he's doing his Act 20 right now.
Okay,
and
nice.
He has like a closing that's happening. So he has like a exitable event that's coming up, and
okay.
He's delaying the closing, the exitable event, because he wants to get his Act 20 paperwork in first.
Yeah.
And the lawyer knows this. The lawyer's working with him. And all of a sudden, the lawyer texts him, yeah, dude, I'm going on vacation, so, like, I'm not going to be around next week. Like, the closing next week, right? Yeah, well, here's this other person's stuff. Like, no F's given. Because, hey, I'm going on vacation. It's Christmas, And again, you said they take like 2 weeks Christmas. Right now, they're having the St. Sebastian Festival, and they had Jimmy Fallon and Bad Bunny walking down the streets of the festival this week. So it's
no way.
Yeah. But it's definitely a good mix, and I think it's really good for workaholics. Of course, the tax benefits, but then also the culture kind of. Lets you slow down and kind of sip your coffee and enjoy life a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for all the insights. I know we're running low on time. I have one more question before we go, and that's, what does disrupt mean to you?
Man, disrupt for me. Disrupt mean it's really about going against the grain of everything that your mind tells you is real right now. Like if I look at like how I've built what I've built, it's totally confronting all the stories that either I have or other people have about what's possible, right? I mean, I love the story about the guy that the first guy that ran the 4-minute mile. They said it was impossible. The same if you look at the Wright brothers who flew a plane. There was mathematicians that actually said that flight was impossible, and they had all types of fancy numbers that proved their theory, right? But the sheer belief that something's possible and the willingness to go after it, even when everybody else says it's not, changes the history books. Like when people talk about facts are constantly proved not to be factual over and over again, right? So it's like the guy with the 4-minute mile, everybody said it was impossible. I forget the guy's name. He ran it. He did the 4-minute mile. The next year, 700 people did a 4-minute mile, right? So that's how you disrupt shit. You just like, it doesn't matter what everybody says. If you believe that there's a slight possibility it can happen, you know, human beings are amazing at figuring out how to solve problems when they're put in that position, especially when they're put backed into the corner. You know what I mean? So, and for me, it's like, for me to really be great, I have to constantly either back myself into a corner or have people back me into a corner, right? Have me call me on how I'm playing small.
Definitely. Well, Bobby, again, thank you so much for being on the show. I greatly appreciate it. If people want to connect with you on social media, where's the best place to do that?
Hit me up on my Facebook at Bobby Stocks. You can also check out me, and we keep updating at bobbystocks.com, and that has links to a lot of the different things that we have going on, and that's constantly updated.
Super cool. Awesome. Bobby, thanks again for being on the show. We'll see you
soon. Thanks, guys.
We'll throw all the links down there so you guys can check out Bobby. And yeah, man, thank you again, and I'll see you when you get back to Puerto Rico.
Definitely. I'll be looking for that heat and humidity, man. I'm dry and freezing up here in the States.
I have some fungo and mojito waiting for you.
Yeah.